Hello. So my name is Agatha, and this is a story. The drawing that you're seeing, the drawing, it's mine. I've done it with little dots. I don't know how long this story is going to be, but it's a great story. Originally, it was in Brazilian Portuguese in a YouTube channel called Sobrevivendo Turquia, and the owner of that channel is a Brazilian woman called Danny Boggione. Boggione, that's her name. She's Brazilian and she had moved to Turkey. I think like 20 years ago, and she married a Turkish man, and her whole professional life, her whole career is there in Turkey. She's still there, so she knows what she's talking about. Okay. So this is again a story that was in her channel first, and it's a true story apparently. And all the names are aliases, so it's not the real names. So this is part one. I don't know how many parts this is going to be. This is Victoria story, and my mother-in-law ended my marriage. Okay. And this is a translation from Portuguese, from Brazilian Portuguese into English. Because this story is so insane, I think everyone should know about it. So I'll post also the original link to this story. So Victoria, an alias, is a doctor. She's 30 years old. She's Brazilian. And her husband is a Turkish. And they met in 2012, something like that. Anyway, her husband kind of went against his family wishes, his clan, and married Victoria. And her mother-in-law managed to end a marriage that had almost 10 years. Okay? So Mustafa, also an alias. So none of these are true names. Okay? A little bit more of background. Victoria she comes from a well-to-do family, so she's not poor. And in 2012 she knows Mustafa. They meet in Switzerland. She was 19 and she was already studying to be a doctor, and he was studying to be an engineer, something like that. And he lived in England and she lived in Brazil. So he kind of like took a year to evaluate her because they kept talking through phone. So he evaluated her. He evaluated her good economic situation because apparently, if you're gonna get married, this is according to Danny Boggione. She's been there in Turkey for the last 10 years, so she knows what she's talking about. You kind of have to be married either the same equally to someone who is your equal at in terms of money, in terms of knowledge, in terms of university education. So because you cannot marry down, and your whole family and your whole clan kind of has to agree upon it. Okay. So in 2012 they know each other, and they keep in contact for the next 11 months more or less. But they're not marrying, they're not dating, they're just talking. Okay. So he evaluates her, if like her good economic condition, what she's studying to be a doctor. So after 1 year, almost a year, Mustafa comes to Brazil and just asks for the hand of Victoria to her mother, because the father, sorry, the father had already died when she was very little. So Victoria had no idea. The mother is not very happy about it, like her own mother, Victoria's mother. So, but this is apparently is normal in the Turkish culture. In the Turkish culture, you don't date. You meet someone, you like that person, you marry. That's it. But of course, you have to evaluate if you are equally yoked. So Mustafa made a decision. This is the woman for me. Asked her to marry her, and Victoria was about 20 years old. But her mother put one condition. Sorry. She has to finish her education first. But from his own family, again, he's Turkish, he had to ask the opinion of his parents and the family, the clan, and he didn't do that because young people are dumb. He didn't do that. He just decided for himself. Okay, and apparently in the Turkish, I'm just telling you what Danny Boggione says, and she's been living in Turkey for 20 years. I think she knows more than me. Apparently, within the Turkish society, you cannot just make a decision on your own. Everyone has to agree. It's kind of like that, apparently. Um, so in 2013, she goes to Turkey and to meet his family. Okay, so to meet Mustafa's parents, and the interesting thing is that even though Mustafa's parents know how to speak in English, they only address her in Turkish. So they refuse to talk to her in English. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of family there. It isn't just his parents. It's like family, friends, neighbors. And what are all they doing? They're evaluating her. This is what Danny explained, and I believe it. Okay, so they are evaluating her. I don't know, is this a good enough, person to marry Mustafa? So eventually, the cousins of Mustafa, the female cousins of Mustafa, they kind of gather around Victoria and ask her a few questions, and they are very direct, apparently. So Mustafa's parents are kind of cold to her, including Mustafa's mother. However, the mother of Mustafa gave her a lot of gold. Okay? Even though she gave her a lot of gold, the things that she was giving her apparently were of her own choosing, of the choosing of the mother of Mustafa, the future mother-in-law. But she gave her a lot of gold because if everything is going to go forward and if you're going to marry this person, apparently there is a custom from the family of the groom, of the man, to give the bride a lot of gold. Apparently that's a custom, and so she got a lot of gold, and that gold stays with her even if they get divorced, which is I think a great tradition that we should, I don't know, have in the West. I'm just saying it would be great. You're gonna be my future wife, here's gold. I think, I don't know, I like that tradition. Anyway, so basically from Victoria's point of view, she was approved. Yeah, she was approved as the future wife. After that little encounter in Turkey, Mustafa's demeanor towards Victoria changes. Okay? So he started kind of insinuating that all Brazilian women are a bit loose. They have like loose morals, and that kind of concerns him. So he's being a bit prejudiced, And Victoria just was so offended, she completely stopped talking to him. Okay, this is over. However, after 2 weeks, she answers the phone again, and he apologizes profusely, and all the horrible things that he was saying to her, it's basically his mother's ideas, his mother's words. Okay, he says, Mustafa, that his mother was having doubts about Victoria. But he says he's very sorry. That's a cultural thing, and there are differences. I think they are Turkish, and Mustafa is probably a Muslim. Okay, so and she's not. Never was that mentioned, but if that was the case, it would be mentioned. Anyway, so his mother, that's what Mustafa says, is not used to a different culture. However, Mustafa promises Victoria that he won't allow to no one else ever to come between them, to interfere. Okay, he will not allow that his mother interferes in the relationship that they have. So basically, he lied. He lied in order to, restart the relationship all over again with Victoria. So my mother won't bother you again. That's what he says. From now on, it will only be, merry days. I'm paraphrasing here, okay? So the promises start. That's what Danny says. And Danny says that it's really normal, that she kind of lived the same story, and it's really normal within the Turkish society. I would say this is really normal within the world. That's basically how it goes. But anyway, so Victoria didn't know that he had a very bad fight with his mother. So, and sorry, the mother, really, future mother-in-law, really didn't want this relationship to go further. She didn't want this relationship to advance. So, but anyway, they did end up marrying. They married in Brazil because Victoria refused to marry in Turkey. So married in Brazil, and from his side of the family, only his parents showed up. Only mommy and daddy showed up, future mother-in-law and future father-in-law. Okay, it was a very small thing, okay? And for the next 3 years, they lived a relationship at a distance, because she was in Brazil, still studying to be a doctor, and he was in England, okay? So she finished up her studies, and after that, she moved to England and went through the process of revalidation, the revalidation in GMC, that's, if I understand this correctly, which is an organ that, or the agency that regulates healthcare professionals in the United Kingdom. So, and then she started her residency in England. So she passed whatever exams she needed to pass. She passed in order to be a doctor in England. Okay, so this is not a dummy. Okay, this is an intelligent. In order to do this, this must be very difficult, and she did it. Okay, so she's there 2 months after she moved to England. She's there. She's living the life with her husband. She's really happy. And suddenly, without being invited, without telling anyone, without asking for permission, the mother-in-law, like Mustafa's mummy, just shows up for a visit. Okay? And let's recall again what he had promised her 3 years ago, that he would never again allow anyone to ever come in between his and her relationship. Said he would never allow that his mother would interfere in their relationship. Okay, so mommy comes to visit without a warning, and immediately she starts being I don't know how to say this, being difficult. She calls Victoria lazy, and Victoria is in the middle of studying. Okay, to revalidate her diploma, the revalidation of her. She's studying, to do this in England, and she's starting basically a brand new life with her husband. And mother-in-law is calling her lazy because the guest room was not ready. Well, it's not ready, in my opinion, because you didn't call, you didn't ask for permission, you just showed up. Okay. Oh my God, I'm already tired. This is not my mother-in-law. So the mother-in-law just starts immediately complaining. And one of the things that she complained about is that she didn't do breakfast for Mustafa. And usually from Victoria's point of view, he would take care of that. And not her. Okay. I'm going to stop for now because this is just part 1, okay? So be back for part 2. This is my drawing. If you're interested in my drawing, this is I'll explain it eventually what it means. It's abstract. I'm in Portugal. If you're interested in this, please let me know, okay?